SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to episode 107 of the SmashFactor, the Charles Schwab Challenge, and we are back with PGA Golf after almost 3 months away. Exciting times. Obviously, everybody's chomping at the bit to get information out, content, digest it. Huge major light contest for DraftKings. Super Draft has big contests. Monkey Knife Fight's going to have big promotions. So everybody's all in this week. UFC, NASCAR, esports, all that stuff has been great. Not only for the community in general, because there's a lot of winners, but kept busy, stuff to do. But I think everybody kind of feels like this is the first quote unquote major sport back, especially DK wise. I know golf has climbed the ladder and was our number one growing sport in the last year. I'm sure it hasn't caught up with golf or football or basketball, but I think it may have passed baseball, but it certainly has gotten popular enough that, we got a million maker this week. Lots of content to come out in the next 48 hours. So we're just going to jump right into it. Same format as always for me. We got a lot to dig into and dive through. So I'm going to get through the intros real quick and then jump into it. Keep it short for you guys. I know you're going to have a lot of content to digest. Potentially going to do another pod tomorrow, more focused on the GPP strategy, million maker breakdown type of stuff. May have a guest on for that, trying to arrange that. But so we're going to keep it about 45 minutes or so. As always, 2020 Super Draft is the site sponsor. For all of our sponsors or affiliates, you can go to gupscorner.com/affiliates, click on the links and use those to get your bonuses. With Super Draft, you get $10 bonus when you put 10 into play using the code GUP. Once you put it into play, whatever you win, you can withdraw whenever. There's no rollover requirements or anything. So use the code GUP today. Get $10 bonus on your first $10 deposit. All Super Draft stuff is integrated with the site as well, plus the tools and content. We do have a Super Draft article that D-Rock will be putting out, I believe tomorrow, maybe later today, since pricing's been out a little earlier, but he will have it out. So we'll have, he's got the best coverage of Super Draft when it comes to PGA in the industry. So make sure you check that out. This week only through Sunday, use the code CV30, get 30% off any package on the site. You'll see that we've kind of restructured and made it a lot simpler to understand. So basically it's just content analysis, which is our standard package we've always had for all sports. We don't break things down by sports, or the full site access, which includes tools. We're no longer breaking those down by sports either. So if you buy the full access, you get all the tools for all the sports. So two options there: weekly, monthly, annual. Whichever way you want to choose. If you sign up this week, and if you already have in the last several weeks, we're keeping tally on it once I announced it. I think I announced it June 1st. You'll get, if you sign up for a monthly, you'll get a shirt or a hat, your choice. And if you sign up for an annual, you'll get both on top of the 30% off, which is locked in as long as you remain a member with the site. So take care of that, or take advantage of that opportunity today. Again, that's CV30 for 30% off. On top of that, the PGA Research Center is free through Sunday. It's been free the entire time of this COVID break, which is just short of 3 months now. But there have been some people take advantage of it, but obviously it's hot in, center right now. So this includes the PGA Model Builder. Go in there, build your custom models. There's a video up there of how I did one. I will make a new one of those now since we've kind of got things going. The debut of the Green Machine, which is our in-house custom-built lineup generator, was released yesterday, maybe late Saturday. So that's included in there. So all this week, if you want to go check out our lineup generator, which includes NASCAR, MMA, and golf right now, we will add the football in the next coming months as we approach that season. You can go to gupscorner.com/PGA-tools and select whatever you want in there. It's open to the public for free all the way through Sunday. I want to do through Sunday so you guys can see the live showdown stuff. It's one of our, more custom features. We're one of the first in the industry to kind of isolate on that. So I wanted you guys to experience that. And then Sunday night, we will close that thing up and it'll be in-house to members only. If you decide to become a content analysis member and want to upgrade, or you already are one, reach out to us. We got that option as well. So we made it really easy for you guys to go check all that out. I'll include a link to the PGA Tools entire setup in the pod as well. This week only, again, golf is back. We're throwing it all out there. 40% off all merchandise. So if you're a current member and you're not eligible for the monthly or annual deal, you can use that. You can use the code Colonial and get 40% off anything in the merch store. HV3 shirts, where those profits are going to the HV3 Foundation. The Gups Corner gear is also in there, and then the Old School Classic, U.S. Open, and Masters t-shirts. All that 40% off this week only with the code Colonial. We will be having a Gups Corner polo. I know a few guys saw us wearing them at the DFS Open and stuff. Been asked a lot, are we going to do that? We are going to do a pre-sale for that in the coming weeks. We're just kind of getting settled and back into things. So we'll do a pre-sale for those coming up as well for those that have been asking. The Listener League is up. Finally got DK to work on a custom contest for us. They wanted to do something different that wasn't already out there. So I'll include that in the pod. It's a $7.50 two max. So still the $15 investment, 10% rate, which is the best I could get them down to now. So let's fill it. It's already over halfway full because I announced it into the community when DK released it. So you can fill it. Let's fill it today. And we're over halfway full already. Get it filled today. That way I can push DK to make it bigger and less rake all at the same time. Again, it's $7.50 and two max. So you can put two lineups in there. So always you got that 2v2 you've been, deciding between. This allows you to get two lineups in there with a $500 first place prize. So that's pretty much all the announcements. I want to get through them quick. We'll get straight into the tournament. Obviously hosted at Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas. As always, I'm going to point you to Kenny Kim, who is our guru of course previews. It actually dropped early this morning. So you can go check it out on the site, and listen to the Fantasy DJing podcast with Kenny and Tambo. Kenny will go through his deep dive there, and then exclusive information that he'll add to the article now through Wednesday for members only as well. So that's the best place to get it. Quick highlight: par 70, 7,200 bent greens, normally pretty true and pretty quick greens. Bermuda tee to green grass, but bent greens obviously. Not a whole lot other than that. I mean, this course this tournament has been held there since 1946, one of the longest running tournaments. It's had about 8,000 different name changes or sponsors. Currently, this is the second year for the Charles Schwab Challenge. The weather is hot, dry, and hot. It's just hot right now. I mean, it's hot here. If you don't know, I recently moved back to Oklahoma last week from San Antonio. Our house is under contract down there. We are already in a house here, and we had record-breaking heat over the weekend here in Norman, Oklahoma, which is just about 2.5 hours straight north of Fort Worth. I don't think I don't know if the course will be baked out because DFW had pretty good amount of rain the last couple months, and in general was I think a little above normal. So I wouldn't expect it to be just completely baked out. I think the biggest deal is going to be the structures for these guys that are used to, the line of sight. When you're playing without that and you're used to playing with it all the time, I think that's going to be a big factor. How we quantify that, it's probably impossible. But as far as weather, no rain, nothing like that, no delays. It's just going to be hot and not very much wind either. 10 mile, 12 mile an hour, but in Texas, that's nothing. So should play pretty good. Just hope these boys are hydrated and kind of in shape. Cut, it's been averaging about +2. Obviously, we're under the new cut rules this year. And this tournament isn't an invitational normally, but as we talked about in some of the previous pods during the COVID, the PGA Tour is going to try to get as many guys in as possible. Mid-morning this morning, DraftKings added some guys, which are included in my rankings that I will drop here short. Probably by the time you're listening to this, it'll be out. So as of now, there's 147 guys in the DraftKings field, and it's going to be T65 and ties instead of T70. So I mean, you got 80-ish guys that could miss the cut. So, I mean, a large chunk of guys, plus there's just so many unknowns this week that it's in general, I would normally say, and I said this last week when I did kind of the betting preview, once the betting odds came out, is this would be a week where I would like lay back some because of so much unknown. It's golf, so many variables. It just wouldn't waste a whole lot of, well, not waste. I wouldn't put a whole lot of my bankroll in something like this. Obviously, with the contests that are out there, it's going to entice guys to want to go over. My biggest thing that I'll push and talk about in the community throughout the next 2 days is be smart with it and just choose where you think your best leverage is. Like if you feel really good about a small pool of guys, maybe load up on the 1 to 3 max stuff because you may have an advantage there. If you go GPP style, I'm going to talk about it in the strategy. I would probably spread a wider, net, cast a wider net this week to account for so much of we don't know what kind of form these guys are in, and no one could predict that at this point. So, I'm going to say the cut's probably going to be +2, +3. Average winning score -15. I do think overall the course will play harder than normal with just all the factors in there. So I'm going to go with around a -12, -13 wins it. I could see -9 in play, -10 type scoring. So I don't think it's going to be just a birdie fest by any means. This course normally isn't. You have a lot of, you have to hit your spots and almost like on any other course on tour, like you can try to bomb and gouge it for the most part, but more success is going to come from knowing where to miss and being in the right spot, having the right angle into the greens. We've had several guys that are high up in the chat that have that knowledge, that have shared the similar things. We have a member in the chat that's played it so many times, and that was one of the things he emphasizes over the weekend is you got to be in the right angle to get to the green, because you may hit it far, but if you hit it on the wrong side of the fairway or something, you could be dead. Maybe gives a slight advantage to some of these guys that haven't played it. I mean, some of the guys that have played it over and over and they know that, but with just so many factors unknown, I don't think I'm going to discount anybody that hasn't played it versus someone that has great course history. And same with recent form. I mean, we're looking at tournaments that were back in February. I have the information out there on the rankings. They are, integrated a little bit, but, basically just kind of looking at an overall picture of these guys. I don't want to say we're taking our best shot or guess or luck. There are some factors in there you want to take a look at, but with, almost a 3-month layoff for all these guys, we know some have been playing, some haven't, some have been practicing. My biggest still probably leveraging what we predict potential ownership to be, just to gain ownership leverage on the field and kind of be balanced from there on out. Prior winners here, which take with a grain of salt, because historically this isn't a very strong field. Obviously, under the circumstances now, you got Rory's never played it, at least in the last 6 years. JT, Rahm has normally played it. Bryson has played it. Brooks has played it once, but you normally don't have a super strong field. So when you're looking at course history and like where guys have finished, take that into consideration as well, because they're normally not going up against as elite of a field as they will here. It doesn't mean like a 6th place finish for Rory Sabatini last year, you discredit that. I just want you to keep it in your back of your mind. Nall won last year. Finau was a runner-up. Rose won 2 years ago. Brooks was a runner-up. Kisner's won. Spieth won or runner-up, in 15, 16, and 17. Adam Scott's won here. Boo Weekley, Zach Johnson, Stricker, Mickelson. Sabatini won here in 07. Some runner-ups, Duffner a few times. Snedeker, Harris English, Rahm. I said Brooks, guys like that. So it's all kind of all over the place on guys that can win here. Short game around the green will probably get talked up a lot in the industry. Just early so, because you're not going to hit as many greens as normal here because of like I talked about, the angles. If you're off on the angle, you may not even have a shot at the green. So getting up and down is going to be important, and I think a big factor this week. Stats for the week for me, I'm focusing on a couple different driving categories and blending them together. Kind of good drive, fairway and regulation type deal. Just overall tee to green. I think if there's ever a week coming off a big layoff, I want to see who's generally good tee to green, around the green, as I just mentioned. Looking at some approach stuff, and then ball striking in general, I'm always going to kind of bring in there on any given week. In the last 6 years, 38 guys this week have not played this course in the last 6 years. On my rankings, you can see that. I just give that stat every week. Doesn't mean necessarily I'm factoring or not factoring it, but always like to throw it out there. The range numbers this week: 10K, there's 4 guys, which is 2%. 9K, there's 9 guys, which is 6%. 8K, 11 guys, which is 7.5%. 7K, 44 guys, which is almost 30%. 6K, 79 guys, which is 54% of the field. So you can tell, obviously tied up top, going to have to make some tough calls, find the guys down low you feel comfortable with, or obviously the balance mode comes in as well. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I know we've got a lot of new followers in the last week, a lot of hype around UFC. Tommy Z's been killing it. NASCAR, guys have been all over the leaderboard. Some bad breaks the last couple laps, the last 2 races, but that happens in NASCAR as I'm learning. Josh Gordon, our esports guy and multi-sport he's filling in spots here and there for me. He's going to put out a GPP strategy article for the Colonial this week. Probably no one hotter in GPPs in the country right now altogether. I don't know his total winnings in the last month between NASCAR, LOL, and UFC, but well over 40, 50,000. So he's just been fired. Great strategy. He's been all over it. Great crew we got going, and the community's building and responding to it, and the tools and stuff they've been excited for. And we're not the best. We're not there yet, but they continue to see us grinding and putting into it. And if you've been away for the last 3 months and didn't know, I made part of the move back to Oklahoma was putting ourselves in a situation where I can focus on Gups Corner 24/7 for a while. Me and my wife, been financially blessed for a while and worked towards getting to this point. And so for the foreseeable future, that is my main focus. I do have a side deal that I'm also working on and getting building up, but my number one focus for the first time since I started this site is Gups Corner, which is awesome because you guys will get, like right now, it's, midday Monday and getting the pod out where normally I'd be in the office working and all that. But I wanted to put, I thought it was best in time and everything that just kind of happened lined up for me to be able to go all in on this. And the community's responded great. The team's responded great. I'm able to get much more engaged and not, start on stuff late at night where I can just get up and it's my number one focus. So I hope in the upcoming months, we prove how great we can be and that we're continuously trying to get better. So appreciate all the support. If you are new though, I have I do the Dirty Dozen, which is 12 picks, 4 different tiers. The first 3 are price driven. Then the last tier is a flop, a fade, and a sleeper. Flop is anybody that is a person I think that won't return their value, has a best chance, I guess you'd say, or worst chance here, say, to return their value for whatever reason. I'll kind of go into it. Fade is just a guy. Mostly it's because of like ownership, could be recent form, could be course history, stuff like that. Typically a higher price guy that I'm just going to try to fade, go light on or full fade. And then sleeper is my favorite play, $6,900 or less. And then I go through a roundtable wrap up, being a solo pod, try to throw out, 8 to 10 to 12 other guys that good or bad, what I got my eyes on. And then I kind of run down kind of a strategy of the week, hit a couple bookmarks of the week, which generally are guys that have caught my eye recently. I do have 3 guys that I think could overachieve this week based on what I perceive their perception to be. So that's how I handled it. And then we got our Monkey Knife Fight sponsored betting strategy segment. So I'll get to all that and then we'll wrap it up. So our first tier is 9K or above. Probably going to be some crucial decisions made up here. I can't get away from Rory. I think JT is going to be the chalk of the 9. This kind of range. If I'm wrong there, I certainly don't mind going to JT. Rory and JT are number 1, number 2. So I lean Rory because I think because of the pricing and then everybody maybe trying to go a little more balanced. He may be less owned, but if I feel different by Wednesday, I certainly don't mind JT. But if I'm going to have a chalky JT, which deservedly so, I think he fits well. He hadn't played here, neither has Rory though. I don't mind trying to be off him, especially in this kind of setup this week. So I like Rory as first. My second is Patrick Reed, 9,200. 22nd in my stats, 10th in my recent form, 15th in course history. Hasn't played it since 2016, but made the cut both times, the 15th and 33rd. going back to what seems like forever ago, he had a 51st at Genesis, a first at WGC, and then a 15th at API. So I don't mind Patrick Reed at all. 9,200, he could wind up being chalky at that price, but I don't mind going there, and I like the betting number as well. Last, I'm interested to see, because I think he'll be chalk, but he's always tough to figure out with the masses, is Brooks. 97 seems extremely cheap for what can potential-wise be one of the best guys in the world. Definitely has been number one before, but he only played here once 2 years ago, and he got a second. So it tells me, just in that sense, that, sight unseen, first time ever playing the course and he gets a second. If he comes in, any kind of better form than where he was, of course he was injured. He could do well here. He is a guy that I bookmarked as a potential add live bet. Maybe he shoots, even or -1 day one, and there's a -5 out there, and you could get a better number than what's sitting out there. Shakes out the rust or whatever. He's one of those guys I'm kind of eyeing on that. Stats wise, he's fine. Recent form he wasn't, but we all know, bad on some injuries, getting back. Did have a 47th at the API, which isn't great, but I don't mind him, especially if I can get him at a lower owned range this week. We'll kind of see how the industry shakes out on him. Second tier, 7,600 to 8,900. First off is Finau. I like Finau a lot. Got a second here. Last year, didn't play an 18, but the 3 prior years, a 19th, a 34th, and a 29th. So made the cut 4 out of 4 years. The 8,700 is a great price for him. Typically a guy that is higher owned, so I can see him at that price being pegged a lot this week. I'll keep an eye on that, but I like Finau. Ownership's going to matter, but I think one of the strategies is going to be picking that core out that you don't care about the ownership, and then taking some leverage spots, because we have so much unknown information that, in my overall strategy, I wrote up is, don't get too cute this week. Like, the guys you believe in, be on them, and then try to be different elsewhere. I wouldn't play all chalk by any means. That's not going to give you much leverage, but pick a few that you're like, I don't care what he comes in at, I'm in on him. Finau may be that guy for me. Woodland, I'm not the biggest Woodland guy week in and week out, but I do like where he's sitting at 8,800. He's another guy I think this range right there, Woodland, Finau, could be kind of chalky and owned a lot, but I like Woodland. He hasn't played here, unlike Finau. That's why I gave Finau a slight bump, but he had good form coming in. He had 12th at WGC, 8th at the Honda, 8,800. Definitely like a major winner, and then his betting odds attract me as well. Last is Garcia. I'm hoping he really doesn't get talked up a lot. He was kind of, I mentioned this on some of the few pods that we had right before COVID happened, that he was, sneakily getting better and better from what seemed like a year of just all kinds of craziness with his tantrums on the course, new baby, so on and so forth. You look at his Euro stuff pulled in with the PGA stuff, which is a manual deal at this point. I think he'd even be higher, but he's still 21st in my model. 8,000, pretty cheap. He played here once in the last 5 years, in 2017, and had a 12th. Like I said, at Genesis and WGC, T37 at both of those. So that price tag, I think he has a great chance to return the value. May not be talked up as much, but I certainly like Garcia and this kind of course fit. He's played here well before in prior years. 7,500 or less. First one's Damon. Certainly a guy we know that's been playing a little bit, played at the Outlaw Tour. 2018 had a T20 here, miscut last year. Not many in better form when we exited the golf scene 3 months ago. A 14th at AT&T, a 5th at Genesis, a 5th at API. His stats, he's third in my stat model overall. 7,500 is a great price for him, and I love him. I'll be on him. Horschel, same deal. He's played here twice in the last 3 years, a T34, a T19. His last 3 tournaments out, a T9, T42, T42, T36, WGC, Honda, and API. Stat model, he looks great. He's number 10 in my model, $7,400. Great price for Horschel. Course fits his style. I definitely like the way this sets up for him this week. Last one, kind of I don't want to say a homer, but, Neiman, but 7,400, I like him at 7,400. 8,400, maybe not, but I can take some risk at 7,400 with Neiman. was not coming in at great form. So I don't, he's a guy that maybe the rest break off helped him, had missed 3 straight cuts leading through the API, but he has good form here. An 8th in 2018, which was right after his debut, I believe at the Masters, if I remember right, pro debut, and then a 31st in 2019. So 2 top 31s or better in his first 2 tries out here. Stat wise, he's top 12 in my model. 7,400, I'll definitely have some of him, especially GPP style. My flop this week, I'm going to go Rose. I expect him to be talked up a lot with the club switch, going back to TaylorMade, presumed. He won here in 2018. 9,000 seems extremely cheap. He T58 last year. He did have 2 missed cuts at Honda and API leading in. It's just up in the wash. And at 9,000, I just think he's going to be highly owned. And that could be one of my spots, that and the next guy, my fade, where I try to get different on the week. So Rose is my flop. And then my fade is X. I imagine him to be highly talked up as well and owned at $9,600. He doesn't have the best course history here, but he did have good form when we exited the scene. So a 23rd at Genesis, a 14th at WGC, and a 24th at API. Stats, he's top 9 in my model. So he looks really good, just hasn't played this course great. So not that that's the end all be all. We mentioned that, but if he's going to be now I will flip and say he's a guy that I pegged early that I wanted to play, but I want to see how the ownership, he's just an ownership leverage for me. If we get to Wednesday and nobody but Nagel's Bagels, which we know he'll talk about him, is really talking about him, I definitely don't mind playing a low-owned X. I just think he's going to be one of the top guys talked about. And so this is a spot that I'll take a lighter stance if he's, 18, 20% type talked up. My sleeper, my favorite play, 6,900 or less, is Bud Colley. Was on him a lot before we took the break. $6,800. He had a T41 here in 2017, miscut here in 2019. Remember, he was just getting back though. The last 3 tournaments he played, a T51, a T42, a T32. He's continually get his game back from the injury or the wreck he had. Stat wise, top 26. So even when he missed the cut last year, he still had good stats, just barely missed the cut. So $6,800, he's the guy that I've kind of earmarked as my favorite under that $6,900 range for the week. Some round table wrap up. I already talked about JT. That's really going to come down to ownership and leverage. Where do I want to start there? Morikawa, I like a lot, 9,100. Certainly expect him to be talked up. Stat-wise, he's top 4 for me. Great ball striker, great tee to green. I'm going to do a deep dive into kind of the bent splits, and if he's one that pops up on the bent, then he'll get another nudge for me by the time we get to Wednesday's final rankings. 3 tournaments leading into the break, T26, T42, and then a 9th at API. So I definitely like Morikawa. Rahm, probably an ownership leverage for me, ownership play. I don't know, kind of between JT and Rory and Rahm, you're going to have that's going to kind of be the circle of talk up. I believe Rahm will be high owned in the sense that he's got a 2nd and a 5th here. He didn't miss a cut last year. He had a 17th and a 3rd going into the break. So form is great. Stats are great. I expect his game to be, not too far off from, I think he probably has been practicing, grinding a little bit. I like him. That's going to come out in an ownership play kind of up there at the top between Rory, JT, and Rahm, with Rory being my favorite right now, but I definitely don't mind him. Sung Jae, I think, will be he's kind of a DK darling, rightfully so. Got his wind at the Honda, 3rd at API, right there with Damon. I mentioned Damon being hot. Sung Jae was as hot as could be. This off time, you got to imagine he was grinding and playing, virtually every day that he could. He did play here last year, missed the cut, but 9,300, nothing wrong with Sung Jae. Bryson, I think I'll be on because I expect him to be the lowest owned out of that 10K plus range. I don't think I'd be on him in a single to 3 max build per se. He doesn't have great history. He's kind of like X. His form coming in was great. He had a 5th, a 2nd, and a 4th coming in, but his history here is a miscut, a 42nd, a miscut. So not the best, but I think he's going to be probably sub 10%, maybe sub 12%. People will know his name certainly, but he's a guy I definitely will be overweight on in a GPP type format if I think he's going to be low owned. Duffner mentioned he's had some success here. Was doing decent actually coming in. Had a 30th at the Genesis, a 35th at the Honda. He did miss a cut at API. Top 10 in stats for me in the kind of the form I've been looking at, and so I like Duffner at 7,000. He was right there with Collie as far as those low owned guys I don't mind going to. Same with Corey Connors. Not the best form exiting the break, but a T8 and a T31 here. The last 2 years, good price on him as well, 125 to 1, $7,100. I would sprinkle some Connors. Binion, we know if he can get the putter going, he's always in play. Pretty good for him going into the break. I like him at 7,400. Webb is one that I'm interested in between Webb, Brooks, and X. Kind of that ownership swing. Where are people going to go there? I think Webb will be talked up. He's got a third, a fifth, and a miscut here. Be interesting to see what his splits are in the putting, but that kind of could be a factor for me. But I would take Brooks over Webb right now, and probably X over Webb as well, depending on ownership. I'd like to see Webb get higher owned than both those guys. EVR $7,100 seems cheap. Had a T3rd at the WGC. No history here, but my stats wise, he's 11th in my overall stats, so it kind of popped out to me. Like the price at 150 to 1 as well. Berger was kind of like a guy like Collie was kind of getting back into form. He's only played there twice, 4-year separation, a miscut, and then a 53rd. He had a 4th at the Honda and a 5th at the Pro-Am. Stats, he's kind of mid-pack up there at the top, 32nd overall. Price tag seems fair to me at 7,700, so certainly worth a look. Scheffler, I think at the 8,400 mark, he's going to be chalky, especially in Texas. We've seen him be chalky already in some DFS slates. So maybe a fade spot for me. Certainly the price fits, and he hadn't played here, but I think he could do well here. I just got to see how much he gets talked up. Danny Lee, I like here a lot. Probably one of my favorite plays on the board, 7,200. Last 5 years, a 10th, a 22nd, a 6th, a 14th, and a 48th. So hasn't missed the cut here in the last 5 years. He had a 47th and a 5th exiting the break. 7,200 seems really cheap for him. He lives in the area. I'm sure he's played the course a lot. So I like Daniel Lee at 7,200. Russell Knox, terrible for him exiting the break, 4 straight missed cuts, but great history here. A 24th, a 20th, and an 8th. 7,200 could be a nice pivot spot. I don't think he'll be highly talked up or highly owned per se, and so maybe a good GPP play. Nothing more than that, but certainly a guy I wanted to mention. Answer 7,300. Made the cut the last 2 years. He played it, a 52nd and a 58th. Really good form coming in, kind of rolling off that President's Cup play. A 43rd, a 12th, and a 56. So 7,300. He's right. I mean, all these guys are right there in that price point that you can kind of stack a couple of these up and be able to play some of those higher plays. And I think these guys have good floors for that. So definitely in play there. Cameron Davis was my second favorite play under 7,000 this week. A 38th at the Pro-Am, a 27th at the Puerto Rico Open, and an 8th at the Honda. 6,500, really cheap price. He hasn't played here, but other than that, I love him for that price, 6,500. And my final kind of wrap-up play is Sabatini. We know he's played in the Outlaw several times, won one of them. Good history here, a 10th, a 20th, and a 6th with a miscut in 2017. Pretty good form as far as for 7,200. He made his last 3 cuts he played in at the Genesis, Honda, and API. Good price tag, a guy we know that's been active and playing. So I like Sabatini at 7,200. That kind of wraps up the player pool. Strategy wise, for me, I mentioned the Castanet on the GPPs this week, kind of meaning I still will kind of have a good core. And when I say that, I may keep the core kind of what it was, and I'll just have a lot more flyers, a little more percentages of guys than I'm used to having, just because of the vulnerability of the week and the unknown. Especially if you're going to kind of go in on these big GPPs, I think you want to get as much exposure as you can everywhere. You don't want to get too wide, or you just won't have enough of leverage on the field. That's something I want to focus on tomorrow on the pod. Hopefully I can get the guest on and do some deep dive into that. So even if not, I'll put something out for sure. And I think Josh's article will kind of go towards this as well. But 1 to 3 max, I think it's going to be hard this week. Guys are going to struggle like pushing those buttons when you're only building one lineup, and like the $200 single entry, which I think is a great tournament this week, 50K up front, I believe. That's a tough build when you only get one lineup, right? But so is everybody else. So that's why don't overthink it. Don't get too cute. Like, get very solid in your plays, use the leverage you can, and just believe in it. And don't tinker, don't get all over yourself on it. Don't outthink yourself in a 3 build type situation as well. For the most part, it's all anecdotal this week. There's no one that can say, we know this for sure, we know that for sure. I mean, guys are going to be watching. I'm going to watch as much, or at least have it on here in the office while I'm working, as much golf channel as possible, listen to interviews, listen to all that, reading stuff on Twitter and social media, just to kind of pick up where guys are feeling, what they're thinking. Does that mean it's the end all be all? No, but as much information as we can get going into Wednesday night and the emergency 9, the better. Kind of bookmarks for me this week. Palmer is one of them. Obviously lives there, right by it, plays the course a lot. He's up and down, though, in his history here. He's got a miscut, a third, a 70th, a miscut, and a 6th. If there's one guy that could have an advantage of playing the course without all the structures, I think he'd be one of them, and probably any of the guys that live up in that area. But he's probably played it a lot without the structure, obviously a lot more than with the structure. He was playing really good coming in. He was one of the guys I was hyping up a lot the last several weeks before we had the break. 7,400, I certainly will have a piece of him. He was kind of a guy that didn't mention anywhere up in the top. So I was like, I want to talk about him a little bit. Collie, I already mentioned. I think people just sleep on what his pure talent is. Like, I think he's a top 30 type guy in the world. He's just he's still finding his spot. I mean, at one point, I think coming out of college, people thought he could be better than JT. So I'm not saying he's good as JP or nothing like that, or JT, but 6,800, I like Collie. And then DJ. I mean, I can't go a pod without mentioning my boy. I mean, you're going to have all the leverage in the world playing him this week. I just can't imagine people clicking the buttons. People talked about how bad he looked in the match. I would wager that was probably the first time he touched clubs in forever. I don't think he's really the grinder. But, what has he done since that match? Who knows? I like DJ. I think he'll do well. 9,500 allows you to take some chance. He's not like he's 10-2 this week, so he doesn't have to win it. Can he top 10? Yeah, I mean, the bad DJs were still top 10, top 20. The biggest play for him this week is going to be the leverage spot. Am I on him yet? I don't know. I definitely, I think the betting odds are great. I'll definitely have a FOMO bet, worst case on him. But, he's right there mid-pack for me. I like the other guys a little better, but if DJ winds up just getting ignored completely and he's like an 8% type guy, I'll be double the field at least, maybe even triple in GPP formats if I go that route this week. For the betting side, Monkey Knife Fight, we've been pushing promos during the kind of the NASCAR and racing and all that, but deposit. If you deposit, you can deposit up to $50 and get a match of $50. You can go to gupscorner.com/affiliates and click the link and you're in, or you can use the code GUP if you just go to their site when you're depositing. Plus, we're working with them. Hopefully it'll be this week, but if not, the next big tournament next week, we're going to have Beat Gup's Corner Challenge. And so once you've deposited the money and you get your automatic match, so if you deposit 50, you get 50, you have 100 to play with. Once you put money into play, the first dollars you put into play, you'll automatically get entered in these free rolls. And we're going to do probably at least 2, if not 3 of them between now and like the PGA Championship. And so you'll be entered into them. There's going to be tons of prizes given away from Monkey Knife Fight and Gup's Corner. Was talking to him this morning, trying to get everything ironed out. I will update that, but even if you've already deposited, they're going to retro it and you'll be in there. So nothing to worry about. So once the free rolls get rolling, you're in it. It's a great chance. They'll be giving away, hundreds of, if not close, thousands of dollars, especially for the major, as well as we'll be giving away subscriptions, merchandise, stuff like that. And if you're a current member and you get a subscription, we just give you the credit for it. So you still can win it. Doesn't matter if you're current or not current. So even if you're not a member, you can get into these just by using the code GUP or the link on the site and deposit, and you still get in the free roll. You don't have to be a member to do this. So it's a great deal they're offering. They have good contest. I will be including some of my favorite plays once they have the PGA kind of props up. If you're not familiar with Monkey, it's more of a, Tiger Woods to score 28. They had some props for the Tiger Woods field, 28 points, and they have their scoring system, and it's over under. And basically, you're betting against them like you'd bet against the book. So that's what's cool about it is we can all share. I mean, we can kind of here's our plays as a community and go bet them because we're not playing each other like we are at DFS. So good format. I like it a lot. It's real up the betting side. Obviously, that's why they're kind of sponsoring the betting strategy. So get your money in there, and you'll be in the free rolls coming up in the near future. Hopefully this week. Waiting to see if they got it loaded in time. Betting strategy before we wrap it up. 50 to 1 or less. I like Finau and Reed are kind of on the top of my radar right now. I don't know if I'm going to go down there yet, but those are two I like. I'll have my betting card out later today, probably the first view, and then obviously the final card Wednesday with updates. Mid-range guys, I give 2 each here and then 2 or 3 dark horses if you're new to the pod. Mid-range, I like Neiman and Horschel at their odds. I really like Horschel a lot. I think there's a good price for him. Long odds, 80 to 120. I like Connors and Danny Lee. Danny Lee being my favorite there. Those guys, some spots are even greater than 120, so good odds there. Dark horses, anything over 120. I like Cameron Davis. Kind of probably picked up on that. Adam Long is a guy I haven't mentioned. I don't think I'll pod that 200 to 1. I think is where I've seen him at. He got 19th here last week. Could be a GPP flyer as well, $6,800. I like him. And then Sabatini, just mentioned him. I like his odds there. Could be some top 20, top 10 type bets as well, or each way if you go that route. One and Done is back. All the guys have been asking. Of course, it's back. If you missed the complete breakdown and restructuring and all that, I know JB has it on his Twitter account. We can repost it on Gup's Corner. If you have any questions about it, go check it out. But the new structure and segments and all that's posted out there. My best play this week would probably be Brooks. I like Rory if you haven't used him, but I do like Brooks as probably maybe a little less owned. Maybe guys have already used him. We're not going to have as many majors, obviously with the British Open being canceled. So that'll be the only one because we're going to go through the Masters, which will be great. But I like Brooks or Rory if I'm going to use a top guy, best guy type of deal. Mid-pack guy that maybe you want to save those big dogs for the big tournaments coming up. I like Reed and Finau, kind of been on them all pod. Skins play for me. So a guy, if you're trying to go solo and win that skin, which I think we still only have one that's won, and I can confirm with JB for next week. But maybe Damon, Horschel, or Neiman, those guys could be very low owned. He may get one of them solo. So be sure to go check out the news segments, all that, so you're fully aware. Same with the GC Cup. All that's out there in the same post or same tweet. You can go check all of it out. No listener Q&A this week. We'll get back to that next week. I'll have you guys fire some away. As always, you can join me Wednesday night in the chat room for the E9, 8:30 Eastern. Looking forward to that. May have a special guest for that this week, but it's members only. So if you're not a member, make sure you get signed up, get in that. It's probably the best information, and you get the ownership. We got all that we're talking about, last minute stuff, fully digest and let it all go. So I'm looking forward to that. And so golf is back. Giveaway. We did a MMA one last week. This week I'll put a tweet out there. You guys will see it between now and Wednesday. There'll be instructions on the tweet that you got to follow. And Wednesday, probably mid-afternoon, so everybody has enough time, we're going to give away 10 Millie Maker tickets. And then we're going to give away one $200 single entry winner as well for that $50K up top prize. So we'll send you guys the DFS cash money. You guys go load it up and get your entries in. So I'll give those away. And the instructions will be on the tweet. You'll see it come out. So make sure you do all that and get engaged. Help us spread the brand the best you can. Appreciate you guys. I'm excited to be back. We got a lot to digest in the next 48 hours before we get the lock button Thursday morning. A lot to come from the site. The guys have been doing a great job. Leaned on them heavy last week because I was moving, and they handled everything great. I will say that we may not have a video pod here in the next week or so. We'll find out. Josh, you guys know JB, his wife is literally on the verge of delivering their first baby. Congrats to them. When that happens, safe, prayers up to them. Everything goes safe and sound. We'll do the schedule somehow. Worst case, I'll do an audio pod like I was doing. Hopefully it works out in the way that we can still get the video pods for you going. And I'll have something for you guys tomorrow, whether it be by myself with somebody on some strategy type stuff. Looking forward to it. You guys have a great week. Help us out with all those giveaways. Take advantage of all that free money as well. Let's have a great week back, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.
Smash Factor.